I'm by the University of Chicago, and you can see up here that all the way up at the top. You know, that should be more pronounced. They have a lot more space up there. They should make that much bigger, much more pronounced. And then they did a deal here with the NBC Tower. Yes, this is the NBC Tower. And they did a deal with them. Booth used to be in the basement of the University of Chicago, the Gleacher Center. They had lower floor. Now they're over here. So you have this in big lights right here. Chicago Booth. Chicago Booth. But they don't have their own bookstore or t-shirt or hats or anything. That's around the corner, and that's with the Graham School, which the Gleacher Center is a lot of the Graham School. So all kinds of other majors that are graduate level and adult education make up the Gleacher Center. And then the Booth had a small presence in the Gleacher Center. Now they have a bigger presence. And then obviously they redid Tribune Towers here. And now it's living space. But again, they have this great courtyard right here at the Gleacher Center that goes out down the street here and onto Michigan Avenue. So they have this great sidewalk area in that, but they don't have an outdoor patio up this way. Truly, the Gleacher Center doesn't have any outdoor patio. They could have an outdoor patio here. There's more than enough room on this side. They have a very nice outdoor patio for the Gleacher Center. Then this is the bookstore where I used to buy my books. The University of Chicago bookstore. Right there, you can see it. But they should have an affiliate right across the street for Booth. And so they're right here on the Chicago River. And the bird, the Thunderbird, is for the Graham School. See the Thunderbird? That's what I'm an alumni of, the Graham School. And so you have to understand that I think they need to make their presence much more pronounced. And right up here, both places, and I'll do this around, is that they have nothing here. Do you see anything on Columbus in that? Like, see these little things up here on the post? There is these things right up here. You can't see them too well. But these banners, and I'll go across the street. You can see them a little bit better and go back. But you have the Sheraton and Lowe's Hotel right here. But the thing I'm talking about is the university. It doesn't have anything pronounced. And it can do all kinds of functions in these hotels as well. There's 3 of them, Embassy Suites, Lowe's, and Sheraton. But looking back this way, now you have these banners, but there's nothing marking this entrance to the University of Chicago. Nothing. There's no signpost or anything. And down the street this way, there's nothing marking, and I'll go make this a longer video. There's nothing marking the Northwestern campus. See, you have NBC right here. This is NBC Tower. And let's see if you can see the peacock. Should get it in there. Where am I? But, yeah, that should be it right there. So this is NBC. And you have it, and I'll come around to it. But NBC, what affiliation does it have with the University of Chicago? Since it's in this building, my chiropractor used to be here in this building. She was a female, good lady. She had a upper floor for her chiropractic office in NBC Tower. And I used to come down here in mid-2000s. 2006, 7, 8, or whatever. I saw her for chiropractic services. I forgot where I parked. But anyways, so they have nothing. I'm going to show you this other street, and there's another hotel. There's 3 back there. Embassy Suites, Lowe's, and Sheridan. Then you have the 4th hotel. It's right here. And I forget the name of the hotel. In 1 second, we'll find out. The Hotel Intercontinental. So there's 4 hotels surrounding the University Gleacher Center. Now, these 4 hotels are also near Northwestern's Medical Law and Graduate School campus. But do you see any sign right here? Anywhere? That says entrance to the University of Chicago? No signs on Michigan Avenue saying turn here for the University of Chicago. Nothing. Nothing in it. Nothing that says the University of Chicago's right behind there. Nothing. They don't have any banners on this street. Working with the Greater Michigan Avenue Association, they have no banners. They have nothing. No presents, no banners. So I'm wondering. But again, and where are the University of Chicago police cars? And the Northwestern University police cars? Because this is really their campus. I shouldn't see a Chicago police car down here. It should say the University of Chicago Police. Because this is Northwestern and University of Chicago's campus, Streeterville. It really is their campus right here. Between Michigan Avenue and Columbus and Lakeshore Drive, Inner Illinois on Navy Pier, and that's further up. That's City of Chicago stuff. But this is really the campus for the University of Chicago and for Northwestern. So we'll go down here, and now you have the 5th hotel here, the DoubleTree. So let's go over the presents.
Excuse me. I need your help. I want to go pick up my friends from Howl of the Moon Bar. They had too much to drink, and I don't want to leave them there.
Okay.
I think it's half a mile away.
Yeah?
Is it okay for you to give me a ride?
Oh, no.
Okay. Sorry.
It's against the law.
I don't know. Sorry.
Yep. I don't pick up any strangers, but let's go over this right here. Do you see that there is no saying welcome to Northwestern University campus, the home of the medical school, grad school, and law school? So Welcome to the Northwestern University Chicago campus, home of the medical school, law school, and graduate school, and hospital. But nothing welcoming me to this. They got some banners right here on the side, but no welcoming. They can put it on that archway right there. Welcoming. So, anyways, and some guy asked me to give him a ride to Howl at the Moon. There's no way I would give anyone a ride to Howl at the Moon. It's illegal to pick up passengers. And I'm not looking to give anyone a ride. I'm not a taxi service. I come down here for a purpose, and that purpose is not to give people rides. But let's go further into this. You have right here the campus. You can't see it. There's a banner up there, and you can't see it from this, but it says Northwestern University. It doesn't say university, it says Northwestern's campus. And right across the street here is Feinberg Medical School. But nothing. So really, I mean, seriously, there's some signage here, but this is, you're talking a incredible presence. There it says Northwestern campus. You're talking an incredible presence. And do you know how much people pay for naming rights? Naming rights. Like, they pay unbelievable amounts of money to get naming rights to stadiums and that. So you have the University of Chicago and Northwestern down here in prime real estate, where thousands of people travel through on a consistent basis, and they have no emphasis of their presence. And again, do you know how much they pay for naming rights? This is Northwestern's law school, and they have this little sign right here. Let me show you it. There's a little sign right here with no lights on it, hard to see, that says Northwestern University. So you don't understand. Do you know how much corporations pay for naming rights to have their names in light? To have this presence in a major city that's right off Lakeshore Drive or Michigan Avenue, and they got little banners. I mean, truly, the university president isn't doing this right. And is he working with the Greater Michigan Avenue Association and the Streeterville Association? There's two. And is he working with them? And then, like I said, there's 5 hotels: the Embassy Suites, the Lowe's Hotel, the Sheraton Hotel, the Intercontinental Hotel, and one more. 3. The Intercontinentals. 4. 4 hotels. Where am I missing a 5th? But anyways, 4 hotels right there. And then there's a couple more that are fairly close. But again, this is all like the Northwestern campus. And then, do you think anyone does anything with the Shirley Ryan Mobility Lab? Like, you know, Northwestern, University of Chicago, both can do a joint venture with this, since they have prominent medical schools and robotics and everything. robotics, both Northwestern, University of Chicago. There's also Illinois Institute of Technology. They do programming and robotics. And so they can have a presence here at Shirley Ann Ability Lab. Truly. And this is a beautiful area, Streeterville, right off of Navy Pier and everything. So again, it's unbelievable. A great presence. And so you have this great area, and the universities are blowing it. They don't emphasize this. They don't have their law enforcement, which they can do through the city of Chicago, but dedicated, blocking off this area to just University of Chicago police and Northwestern University police. And they would have an agreement with the neighborhood that it would be their presence, not Chicago police cars. And this would be part of their campus. And this is part of their campus, both University of Chicago and Northwestern's campus. So again, it would be more run by campus police than it should be run by the city of Chicago police. Oh, in this building right here, that's on Ohio and Columbus right here, that's where I went to medical offices for Northwestern. My doctor's office is in this building. It doesn't say anything Northwestern on it, but the female doctor I had from Northwestern, and she was really cute too. She's a white girl, but she was truly white girl, beautiful girl. I was attracted to her. But medical offices in here. This has a bunch of medical offices from Northwestern. And then right down the street across, let's go over, since I'm doing this, you have the University of Chicago Medical School right here as well. You got the graduate school for Graham in adult education for the University of Chicago. You got Booth Graduate School. And then you have down here also a major presence by the University of Chicago. So let's just go over here. Here is North Pier. So this is North Pier. That's what they call it. There's Navy Pier and North Pier. This is where Baja used to be, where I used to work. Now it's a Target. But lots of entertainment. And then there's BMO Harris, their branch in downtown. Bank of Montreal, that means BMO really means bank. They don't say of, it just goes BMO, but it's Bank of Montreal. It's a Canadian bank. So I'm going to turn this corner, but you can see right there, it says U Chicago Medical School. So you have the University of Chicago Medical School, or medical offices, I should say, not their school. And then you have Northwestern's medical, facilities here. And then they have their medical school here. But you have University of Chicago Medical, Northwestern Medical here. And then you have University of Chicago Graduate School in Adult Education. You have Northwestern Law School, Graduate School, Adult Education, and Graduate School, Adult Education, and where am I? Law school, adult education, graduate school for Northwestern, and medical school. And obviously, hospital. And so that's all right in this area. And this is really much of a college campus. And then if we go just a little bit further, and this would be south on Columbus, over the river, you run into a bunch of other hotels as well. So there's the Fairmont and many others, the Hyatt and the St. Regis and many other hotels. So here's the NBC. I'm passing it right here. And they have the City Front Cafe. But in here, you have the University of Chicago and the Booth School in there. So you're wondering what NBC is doing with them, what type of affiliation. They're right here. They have a competitive advantage because they're right attached to University of Chicago. They're attached to Northwestern. NBC is right here. So you think they would try to form some kind of affiliation and they can report on things going on with Northwestern and University of Chicago and other things, having more exclusive access. So giving them a more of a competitive edge. So you have all the hotels right here, and they're right off the Chicago River. And the Chicago River down that way, it runs into Lake Michigan. So, and you have all the boats, and then you have Trump Tower. So think of those universities, where they're located. I mean, the main campus for University of Chicago is in Hyde Park. The main campus for Northwestern is in Evanston. And then you have Illinois Institute of Technology that's on State. And it's, I don't know what that area is called, but it's right by Sox Park. Illinois Institute of Technology. But here you have the University of Chicago and Northwestern that have their grad schools, adult education, and their medical all here, plus Northwestern's law school. And so they have an extremely big presence in a very prime area, but they have yet to consider this their campus. Truly making it their campus. So I'm kind of dumbfounded at why they wouldn't be, I'm on Lower Wacker Drive now, but I'm dumbfounded on why they wouldn't be making this a joint venture between Northwestern and University of Chicago to make this a big collegiate area on the adult education and graduate school side. The medical school is a graduate school. The law school is a graduate school. Booth is a graduate school. Graham School has many different graduate schools in it. And then they have adult education, and both Northwestern does as well. So I don't understand why they're not trying to make a serious push to make this an official presence. And I just missed the Billy Goat Cafe, which you don't hear about it anymore since it was on Letterman. But you had the Billy Goat Cafe, and cheeseburger, Pepsi, no Coke. Cheeseburger, Pepsi, no Coke. And so you have this, and I'll show you the Billy Goat Cafe. But the thing is, it's in a kind of a this underground area is really not too inviting. And so you don't really make a presence. If it wasn't for Leatherman, the one by the United Center is, a standalone space that you can see better. It has more of a presence. But this one, you can't really, and I think this is the one Letterman was at because he was also on Wacker Drive and other things. He did his show from Chicago. And he was talking about Playboy and so on and other Chicago firms. But here you go. You can see the goat right there. The Billy Goat Cafe. And it's down here on Lower Wacker Drive. And here's the front of it. So here's the statement I was talking about. So Saturday Night Live, cheeseburger, 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 no Pepsi, Coke, right here. And they have attributed it to Saturday Night Live on NBC. And this is part of, NBC Towers right over there. And so you can go out here on the other side, and you got the Marriott Hotel that's right over here. So there's an incredible amount of hotels. So off of the Magnificent Mile. So this makes it an incredible shopping and tourist destination here. Because just think about the pure number of hotels. Just by those campuses, Northwestern University Chicago, there's like 5 hotels right there. And then you go over the water, you have the Hyatt Regency, you have the Fairmont, and you have several others. And then you come down here, you have the Marriott Courtyard, and this is all on state. So this is State and Hubbard. But again, you have a nice restaurant opening up here. It has the Asian lettering, so I don't know what it is. But this is all part of the campus for those universities, right? And one way to make them, like people going to medical school, living by Northwestern's medical school. And living in this area, you got the Marriott Residence and the Marriott Spring Hill Suites. And so you got several Marriott properties, hotels, and so on. But the one way to make this is law students offering some form, working with the city, that they, through their campus residency, to get them to live in this area, to live near the medical school, to live near the law school, to live near the graduate school. Truly. And it's a great area to live in, but they could really emphasize the educational presence, and that brings the faculty and the staff and everything else. And so this can really add into this area where I used to hang out a lot, the Boss Bar, because my friend Rocky worked there. And they opened up a place next door. I don't know. I used to know the girl who owned that. Her family owned that place. And again, this is Hubbard, and this whole area can be, an extreme presence. So you have all these hotels, you have these high-end university, 2 of the top universities in the world, Northwestern and University of Chicago, right there. High-end hotels, incredible stuff right here. I mean, you have along the river and everything else. So I don't understand from a standpoint what the city does for marketing or anything else. And like I said, one way just to increase the city is drive corporations to come to the city of Chicago. And you don't have to be inside the United States. They can go to South Korea. They can go to Japan. They can go to Germany. They can go to Sweden, like IKEA, maybe opening up a corporate office in the United States here in Chicago, right? They wanted to open up an IKEA on North Avenue in Chicago. It didn't happen, but maybe they can bring it back and open up an IKEA on North Avenue in Chicago. So I'll post a proposal, but it didn't happen. But now that they redid everything on North Avenue and that, where they're redoing that river, whatever that project's called. But anyways, North Avenue and the Chicago River, because they moved the scrap metal and they moved Finco steel and that. Those were all there before. Now it's a perfect time, lots of space for IKEA to come in. So why not bring them back? And then you have so many hotels down here, the Royal, and it's Sonatas, and many others, but this is all within a very short distance of each other. We're talking just a couple square miles, if even square miles. It might be a square mile, a mile by a mile by a mile. So, but it's all very concentrated, and these universities have a big presence. And remember, both, I think, University of Chicago and Northwestern have acting schools and film schools. And if they don't, they should. But I know Northwestern has it. Gary Marshall graduated from it, who is a director who does very good work. And his sister was Penny Marshall, and they did, TV sitcoms. But anyways, they went to Northwestern. Gary Marshall. I don't know about Penny. But the whole point is that those institutions can have their students be involved in internships and everything else in the different TV shows like Chicago Fire, Chicago PD, Chicago Med. So it can give these universities their theater arts programs, like Columbia is another one. So the CCC, Columbia College of Chicago, the Triple C. So they have a theater arts program in that, and their students can be involved in internships and everything, and then they can have their students and faculty, teachers and professors can get, cameos, be stand-ins and extras for different scenes and that. And it's another way for professors in the acting and film school to generate revenue. And so they can be part of this, and it brings them up in the profession. They get real exposure to real productions, and it furthers, their arts program. And so both for these universities, so they can be in these different things that are happening dramatically or entertainment-wise within the city. So, again, this is all right down here. So, And again, you have the Chicago Tribune. They have the CW. They produce shows. WGN, Channel 9. So you have CBS, NBC, ABC, WGN, Fox, and many others. So they have many studios and everything else. And this is a major city. And they can intertwine with these universities and their theatrical programs and their film schools. Obviously, theatrical means their acting programs and that, and their film schools and so on. So they can intertwine that, and their staff and faculty can be involved as well. And they need extras for many different scenes, and it's a way for the teachers to get hands-on experience. Truly, the faculty and staff that teach, it's a way for them to get real-world experience to be part of these different shows. And so, just being an extra in a cafe scene or a restaurant scene or Chicago Fire and, some type of emergency scene or, and Chicago Med, some kind of, scene or whatever, Chicago PD, or there's the Chi, which is on, I don't know if it's on, I think it's Peacock or something, which is by NBC. But again, for them to get consistent real-world experience, small exposures, but real-world experience to see how the rubber's hitting the road and to stay abreast and getting their students involved in these shows as interns and as grips, helping build sets and, volunteer and do these things. So it's great for the faculty, the staff, the universities, the students. Like I said, Columbia College is right here, Chicago. And again, their theatrical program. And so it's really good they can get involved in these things. And so they're thinking of ways for them to get real-world experience where the rubber hits the road, where they can take theory or classroom and apply it or see how theory in classroom is applied immediately. So the bridge between what you see in the classroom and what you're taught and then applying it and feeling how it goes, because that's where the heavy lifting comes in, when the rubber hits the road. And so you have to set up sets, you got to be in the environment. It's a windy day or rainy day or snowy day, or it's cold or it's extremely warm or whatever, and the rubber hits the road. So they can take the theory and apply it and then adjust it for real world application. So again, let's go back down this way, and I'm going to finish this and head home. But you have the Chicago Tribune. This used to be the Chicago Sun-Times, where the Trump Tower is, and Donald Trump has his name all over this place, because that street right there off of Michigan and Wacker, having his name there, has a big presence. And so obviously I don't know why none of his kids are down here. Like Ivana, maybe Ivanka can move, or one of his kids can move to Chicago. I would strategically place my kids, if I was him, around the country. I would have Eric live out on the West Coast, and one of them live in the Midwest, and then one of them live down south. And strategically, he's in New York, right? His residence. Or is he in Florida? He's going to live. He has a residence, so then place the other kid in New York. But I would strategically place my kids in different places around the country so they can stay abreast, and the children work in the businesses and they become real-time information. They get to see, experience, interact, and can help improve his informational resources for his companies like Trump Hotel and all that. And again, I'm back down here by the University of Chicago. But the thing is, placing your kids strategically around the country to further their future and further his future. He's still going to be alive for a while. So, again, he still should think of his future. If you're not in the grave, the one thing I learned from a 90-year-old at Vanguard, who I had great conversations with, who started coaching youth baseball at 90 years old. He moved out of the retirement home. People don't like to hear that, but he did. He went back to private living. He started coaching a youth baseball team and started getting highly active at 90. Now, Kelly Clarkson said on her show, it's never too late, but I've actually been with people that have actually done this. And what did he teach me? The greatest thing that he taught me was that, and it changed his life, is to wake up excited for the day. So finding hope in each day. And he says that's what people, when they get old, they don't have that youth. Like when I was with Jen, every day I looked to go to bed and I couldn't wait to wake up in the morning, to wake up beside her. Makes me want to cry. I never told her that, which I did, but I couldn't wait to get up in the morning and just see her, to wake up beside her. And so it was wonderful. And I don't understand couples. Truly. I mean, it should be a blessing to wake up next to the person you wake up to. So, and you should be looking to wake up to them, to see them. You open your eyes and there they are. And it should be a wonderful thing to see that person across from you. This, I called her LBJ, Little Blessing Jennifer. And I used to love waking up every morning to my little blessing. And so, very hard for me to talk about it because I start thinking about it and it tears me up. And I guess you can call this, tapping into your emotions for, theatrical drama. But that's not what I'm trying to do. But yes, that's how they call it, method acting. You tap into these real world experiences. And if you don't have them, you do them. Real world experiences makes you a better actor. But you have to really live it. You don't fake it. You live it. You live in the moment. You enjoy the moment, you live in the moment, and you really do it. So if they ask you, we're going to do this, and it's point, Grosse Point, or what was that Keanu Reeves movie? Well, they have to skydive. Have you ever jumped out of a plane before? No. Well, if you haven't lived experiences, then this is what Hemingway, now he lived in a bar and drank a lot, and I had a friend that wanted to be the drunken poet, but the whole point is he went out and he did kind of the Hemingway thing. We didn't talk about it, but Hemingway wrote by experiencing life, and you act by experiencing life. Go out and meet different people from different cultures and experience it. Like I had my friend Rob Dang. He was supposed to teach me Punjabi food, Punjabi lifestyle. That's Indian. Punjabi is Indian. So, Scott, we were going to do food from Somalia because he said he was very versed. He used to always talk about the black Jews in Somalia constantly. So, and there are Jewish people in Somalia that are black. And so they have Somalian food. And so he was supposed to take me up there. Well, I still to this day remember, and we never went. But other people did. I went to a Brahmin wedding, and I experienced that at T-Bone's wedding. He's Brahmin, and so he's a Brahmin is his caste, and he's Hindu, and I experienced a Hindu wedding. But the whole point is truly making friends, going out and experiencing life, and these are things that you can bring to the roles. And you don't have to be in bad situations. Go out and volunteer for charities. And I'm talking actors. Go out like Robert Downey Jr. He could do prison ministry. And he can bring that to his writing and his roles as he understands. These are your experiences you tap into. But go out and volunteer in an ER. Go out and volunteer to hold babies in a nursery. Get experience that way. Go out and volunteer with the Red Cross. Or go out and volunteer with Greenpeace. Truly, I wasn't going to go out. I didn't end up, but I was going to go out for the anti-whaling with Greenpeace. So, very much animal focused and nature focused. But go out camping. Go out and volunteer at a hospital like I did for years at Children's. So you get to see how the nurses go. And I'm not talking a day. I volunteered for decades, but I'm talking make a 6-month commitment and volunteer at the Children's Hospital. Like if you're writing for Chicago Med, go volunteer at one of the hospitals, say Northwestern Hospital, and truly be a volunteer. And, you get to go and interact with patients. You get to see doctors and nurses and how they do things. You could volunteer in the emergency room. But truly, go out and live it. And there's all these opportunities to create these experiences so you can create these understanding. These are called tools. And the more tools you have, the better off you are. So if I was going to do a movie and I was going to do a medical drama like Chicago Med, I would have my cast and crew volunteering in hospitals across Chicago. Truly. To be a true volunteer. Not a fly in the wall, not to be there like I'm a star in Chicago Med, but to be a servant, to be humble, to be a fly on the wall, and truly interacting with real case situations, real people, and learning and experiencing and understanding, and then bringing that back with you. And you're giving them, you got to give to get. You're volunteering. You're truly volunteering. And you can put them in the credits. Like, I volunteered at Children's Hospital in Chicago. And you can put that in the credits. Thank you for allowing me to volunteer at Children's. And you can name just the hospitals and thanking the hospitals for allowing, your different crew and staff and actors to volunteer at the different hospitals. Be a volunteer firefighter. And truly, do stuff, volunteer, go through the ropes, be a reserve police officer or something. Truly, go through a minimal amount of real exposure. And then you can go and you volunteer, and you can work in a jail and volunteer, like in prison ministries, or volunteer with them, or volunteer for the Chicago police. And, you're doing stuff. I don't know what type of volunteer activities they have, but they should. Not a ride-along, per se, but I'm talking truly volunteering and helping out and assisting. You want to be a benefit, not a distraction. You're there to learn and there to watch and observe them. You're not the focus point. Learn to be second fiddle. Here's Whole Food down here, but I guess I go straight back this way to cross the bridge. But learn how to be second fiddle. See, the Bible tells you how to be humble, and you need to be humble. And then you get your fruits, and then you can apply the fruits of your labor. If you want to do something about Uber, become an Uber driver. Truly, do Uber. Do Lyft. Like the dark passenger. He should have really done Uber or Lyft in New York. And he can wear a hat in that and be more low-key. People aren't going to recognize him. But I mean, truly go out there and pick up and really do the ride share. And understand the experience of what's going on and how it works and how you get paid. Yeah, you get paid, and how the money comes in and everything else. That's what I would tell the lead actor for Dexter. As you're developing these things, work in a mortuary. Go volunteer to help forensics. Truly, get some real world experience. Go down and volunteer in a morgue. Really apply, get out there and apply yourself. If you want to create something of substance, truly apply. Go into a military base around the world and volunteer. Or if you want, become a reservist. It takes a little bit of time, but not years to become a reservist, but you can become a reservist. You can also volunteer with the USO. Volunteer with the USO. They go to different military bases to entertain, and you can watch on the military bases and so on. And just make sure that what you see, you're allowed to share. But you can get a feel of how they move and how they act and how they talk by being a fly on the wall. They're being themselves. You want them to be their real self. You don't want acting. You want them to really be themselves, to put themselves out there and be raw and be themselves. You don't want them to fake it. So you want to truly be who they truly are, and you're there. Okay. That's a lot of dust. Better with a vacuum than a broom. If it's really dusty, it's better to vacuum it up than sweep it up. Heavy dust is not really good for broom because it kicks it up. Light dust, the girl's sweeping heavy dust with a broom, it's going to kick up too much in the air and she could breathe it in. So brooms are made for smaller, bigger particles. I should say smaller amounts of stuff, but they're made for bigger particles. So you sweep up like you spilled your dog food, your dry dog food, you're sweeping that up, or maybe the kitty litter fell over, the bigger particles. But if you're getting into smaller granular stuff, you don't want to use your broom. It'll kick it up into the atmosphere because it's small, it's light, and when you push it like that, instead of sucking it up. So you have to know when to use a broom and when to use a vacuum cleaner. So, but people don't understand that, and they think you can use a broom for all things and a vacuum cleaner for all things, but it's not true. And then there's a crossover to a shop vac, which can suck up dry and wet, but shop vacs you use for things that are damper. And so shop vacs you use for cleaning up big spills and that, because it can suck up all the water. So it's a vacuum cleaner specialized for wet things. It sucks up all kinds of water and liquid. If you spilled oil, you can suck it up with a shop vac. Truly. So it's made for these things. Now, like oil and that's going to be, you got to be a little bit more diligent when you clean it. But there are solvents in that, and all you do is put the solvent on the ground and suck it up through the shop vac. Yes. Just pour the solvent on the ground and suck it up like any other thing. You sucked up the oil. Now, take the solvent. Or pour some oil dry on the floor. You sucked up oil and you want to turn it into a solid. Pour oil dry on the floor and suck it up into the shop vac. It'll suck up the oil, and you won't have oil. You'll have a solid because the oil dry sucks it up. So you have solid particles. So, and then when you want to clean it, pour the solvent on the floor. Make sure that it's not on something that it would discolor, but you can pour it on the floor and suck it through the tube. So, like a vacuum cleaner, if you want to clean a vacuum cleaner, the inside, and desanitize it, get a desanitizing powder. Now, I don't know if baking soda is really sanitizing, but if you had a sanitizing powder that sanitized the carpet, well, if you suck it up through the vacuum cleaner, it sanitizes the hose and things in the vacuum cleaner. So you sprinkle it on the carpet, a sanitizer, and then you suck it up, and it also sanitizes the internal of the vacuum cleaner at the same time. So it does two things at once. Not only sanitizes the carpet. Now, baking soda you do to make the carpet more fresh, to keep it, suck up moisture and everything, so it doesn't smell moldy and so on. But again, it's not for sanitizing. So there has to be a particle sanitizer you sprinkle, and then you suck that up, and as you're sucking that up, it cleans the inside of the vacuum cleaner at the same time. If designed right, it cleans the carpet and cleans the internal of the vacuum cleaner. So it's the same thing with the shop vac. Figure out ways to make your life in cleaning systems easy. Like we used to clean taps, and all we do is hook up a solution and shoot it through the tap. Yeah, it's like a keg. You plug the keg in. Well, what we would do is pour out all the remaining beer that's in the line, and then we would hook up a tap of cleaner, and then turn on the tap, and the cleaning solution would flow through the tap line, dissolving anything in the tap line. We would let it run on the other end, and until it was a clearer color, and then you just hook up some purified water, a keg of purified water, mini keg or whatever. You hook that up to the tap line, and then you flush out any solvent that you use to clean the tap line. You rinse the tap line. So it's the same thing. So you can sanitize, clean the tap line, a solution, and then you can rinse it out, and it's ready to go. And then you just hook up the keg back up. So keeping your tap lines just like a bag in a box for the syrup. Coca-Cola can make cleaning solutions, one water that you run after the cleaning solution, and you hook up the bag in a box to the different lines, because the gun will have different, it'll have Coke, Pepsi, and so on. So you just move the cleaning solution to the different lines. The cleaning solution runs through the lines. You just hold down the tap, the gun, I should say, the button on the gun, and it bleeds through the line, and it cleans out all the caked on syrup and anything that's in the tap line for the soda, the cleaning solution. And then you hook up the box of purified water, and then you hold down the tap line again, the button on the gun, you hold it down again, the button on the gun, and the purified water goes through. And they can set up Coca-Cola, Pepsi, and all that for cleaning their soda fountains, or cleaning the guns systems, cleaning the tap systems. So this can all be done for your soda companies, even cleaning out their lines in the manufacturing of beer in that, where you can put the solution, run it through the lines, clean out the lines, and then run in purified water to rinse them out, to set it up again. So you can clean out the vats and everything else, and the lines and everything at the same time. So figure out how to make things efficient. And so they can, like Subway and that, can keep their fountain drinks fresh and tasting good, and no threat of contamination. So you have to think of these things and how to do it. And this is where I used to live for a short period of time with my ex-gen. And, truly was happy to be able to move in with her and live with her and truly be with her for a short period until things went wrong. It wasn't her. It was all the outside demons and people. And that's why I want to change society for the better, because everybody's destroying everybody's freaking life. And that's what's happening. The majority of the time, you think humans are here, they're mutually beneficial to each other and everything else. Well, my life is a statement of how that's not true. And I would like to change it where it becomes true, at least a majority of the time, where it's a win-win, mutually beneficial situation. They benefit, you benefit, and it's a positive situation. It's all the external demons, all the people that were doing wrong to me in so many different ways, destroyed. And I think about my baby, I think about my marriage, I think about all the time I would have spent with her, and the friendships that would have deepened with Jay and Erica and Christine and Lisa and so on, that we would have became these incredibly deep and connected friends. And we used to hang out and interact, and we would have just become so much deeper with each other. And when Jen left me, she also moved on from all of them too, and everybody scattered. So she didn't go down the same path. She brought in somebody else, Tom, and he had friends, and she totally changed direction. So where her life is not where her life would have been with me. She is in a whole different world of where she would have been. And so I guess she, I think it would have been better staying with me. Here's Mark Twain Park, where I used to live. And Mark Twain's another great writer. I love his stuff. But again, she never ended up where she was supposed to be. She truly never reached her full purpose, never reached her full potential. She ended up in a whole different world than she would have been in. And I believe the world she would have been in would have been 10, 50, 100 times more glorious than where she is. But the thing is, she doesn't think about that. But if she would go back, as I do, and reflect on a book she gave me for my birthday present, that I go back on that and I think about that, and I think about all of our friends and how we had a very great connection and how we would have moved incredibly deeper as friends and interacted in our families. I would have had mine with her, and our families and our relationships would have been unbelievably deep and fulfilling. I believe what any of them have is nowhere where they should have been. Truly, from Erica Wayne to all the others. Because when you make these changes in your life, you also change your environment. And you change your projection. And this is what I tell people, that you should be very careful in considering when you make these changes, because it truly changes your path in life. When you separate from a spouse and you move alone, or you move into a direction with somebody else, it alters, and it does. It totally alters on the people you touch, because the two of you, me and Jen, made certain decisions about certain interactions and did certain things, and she doesn't make the same decisions. She doesn't make the same connections. She doesn't do the same things. It's a totally different life. She chose a path that was far from the path that we would have had. But that's for anyone when you make these changes. So this is a beautiful view of Grant Park, and around it, it's halfway boxed in an L, Michigan Avenue, and then Randolph Avenue on the backside. And then you got the lake up that way. So, but the buildings are on two sides of Grant Park. And then the third side, actually it's four sides of Grant Park. You can't see Roosevelt's other end. So you got the two R's. Roosevelt and Randolph really are the two north and south ends of Grant Park, and then Michigan Avenue and Lakeshore Drive are the others. Columbus is in the middle. So it's the inner drive, or no, it's, I think, Lakeshore Drive and Michigan Avenue, and then Roosevelt and Randolph boxing Grant Park. And so, anyways, so I just want to say, so when you change universities, you're going to change everybody you met. Doing a semester abroad, but switching, they talk about the portal and changing these college athletes, and they move from this school to that school. Well, you're not going to have very deep connections, because spending 4 or 5 years with Redshirt, 5 years with those people, is different than spending 1 or 2 years with them. You're basically like ships passing in the night, and none of you established deep relations. I'm really worried about the portal and these athletes transferring all around. Because I remember the one guy I met that sat on a bench for 4 years with John Wooden. He could have been there 5 with a red shirt. But he said it was the greatest thing. He was with Kareem and all those great athletes. He met them. He practiced with them. And Andy, yes, Andy got in a few here and there, but was never good enough to start. But he said he wouldn't trade it for anything, to be there and experience time with John Wooden, and then all the players that he met at UCLA and all those connections that he made, that he spent all these years with these players. So Kareem should be talking about his experience to NBA players and to stay in school and to stay in the universities, because LeBron James didn't get that, but Michael Jordan was 3 years. He should have stayed for his 4th at North Carolina. And do you know what the attendance would have been for the 4th year at North Carolina for his senior year? It would have been crazy attendance for North Carolina. The tickets to see Jordan in his final year, if he didn't go to the pros, no, he wouldn't have ended up in Chicago because they had the draft that year, but he ended up, and it's a great thing, but he should be talking about truly staying in school. And you know what kind of money that pumps into a university to have an athlete who is a superstar? You know, Kentucky loses all the time because their athletes are there for 1 or 2 years. And so did the University of Arizona. Damon Stoudemire and many of the other famous ones, they didn't stay. But do you know what the tickets would have been for the basketball games and that if they stayed there all 4 years? That they would have built up all this national audience and national attention. It made all the college schools great. But what does it do? It sets up the pros. And then once